Hello City Skylines fans and newcomers to the channel. Welcome back to Hilland Bay, where, after the last episode, I've made a bit of a mess of things. Sure, the city is looking a lot better, but when you take a closer look, I made a bit of a boo-boo. We are losing a ton of money on our budget, and that seems to be because we are also losing a ton of citizens. People are moving out of Hilland Bay in droves. I've seen this get to over 250 people leaving an hour. That's not good. Nope, that's not good at all. We went from 14,000 citizens down into the 12,000s. So what went wrong so quickly? Well, it might have something to do with me taking about 200,000 in loans to plant some trees. May have gotten a little overzealous on that. Also, I have a lot of empty homes, which for some reason or another, the game says people don't like that. I find that really weird. Oh, there's an empty home. Well, I'm not going to live here anymore. Screw this city. It seems to me that an empty home is an opportunity for a new person or family to move in, not make a negative impact. But no matter the reason or thinking, it's happening, and I need to fix that. This was no easy task. Over the last week, I've been playing, experimenting, and running simulations to get the city back on track, trying to find something that works and reasoning behind things so I can fix it. Throughout all of my attempts, I have been unsuccessful, to the point where I thought, well, I guess this city's done. Nothing I tried was working. Until it did. Okay, so once I figured out the real reason behind everyone leaving the city, which I kind of accidentally stumbled upon by clicking the demand bar, you can see it shows a few things here affecting the demand. You've got unoccupied buildings, availability of jobs, taxes, and happiness across the board through all the residential. So how do you fix these things? I mean, sure, I could lower taxes, but then we lose even more money. How do I even begin to fix happiness? If we have no money and no way to build things unless we take more loans, which loses even more money, it's an endless loop and a road that I didn't want to go down. Then there's the unoccupied buildings. I really didn't want to delete all of the new housing I just worked so hard on in the last episode. I mean, it just looks so much nicer. Why can't they just live in the houses that I built them? Ugh. Okay, so I just had to bite the bullet and see what exactly would happen if I did some of these things. I mean, after all, it's either that or start over. So the first thing I did was look at the taxes. I had this at 13%, which I know is high, but they never had an issue before now with this, so I tried lowering a little bit at a time until I got a positive recommendation on my demand bar. This put it at about 9%, 4% less than I was making in taxes before, and that's a huge loss. But really, if you think about it, 13% of zero, it's still zero, so better to try to make them happy and make 9% off of something. If I could get the people moving back, then that might offset the loss percentage. And while I'm at it, I'm going to go ahead and drop the taxes on the rest of the stuff, such as commercial, industrial, and office, down to 11%. But that alone wasn't enough. What else could I fix right now with hardly no money? Speaking of that, we need to try to get a little more money coming in somehow and save some where we can. The budget. I got to go back over every single bit of this and just cut corners where possible. All right, roads. Well, our citizens are just going to have to live with potholes, I guess. Electricity. I'm actually going to charge more on our service fee here. We're at 130% right now, but I'm going to push this a little further, about another 5% or so. Water and sewage. I'm going to do the same thing here and charge more on service fees. After all, they are paying less taxes. Maybe I can get a little bit of that back from the water and electricity bills. Health and death care. This one is a tough one. It's already one we are struggling with in the city, but we're just losing too much money. I'll bump it down to just 70% for now, but we will fix this later the first chance we get. Garbage is fine where it is. I already have enough issues there without shooting ourselves in the foot here with a rusty bullet. Education and research. Now, this one's a strange one. On one hand, when we look at our demand status window, it shows availability of jobs as being one of the problems. And yet, availability of jobs means that there's not enough jobs for educated people or uneducated, one or the other. But according to Chirpy, which, by the way, was recently bought by Elon Tusk and renamed to just Y. Why? Because he could. But I digress. According to Y, our citizens are happy with the education level. So I guess that means we can budget back on this for a little while. Then there's our fire and police budgets. Fire, I'm just going to push this back quite a bit. I think we can survive a little while with this turned down until we get back on our feet. Sometimes budget cuts are just necessary. Now our citizens, according to Y, are complaining about crime. But again, this is a necessary evil. You can either live in a city where you might get robbed at the grocery store, or you can try to adapt and help save towards a better tomorrow. Make Hilland Bay great again. The rest of our budget is where it has been for a while now. Transportation, parks, communications, landscaping are turned down or just not costing us anything right now at the moment. I'm also going to look at our high school here, which is costing us a lot each month in upkeep. As much as I would love to close the football field, it brings in happiness, and we need that happiness right now, so it stays. However, we can close the library, and we can close the extension wing and save some money there. Now there's something I am going to do that I should have done a long time ago. We have a little bit of excess water, even at our budget of 80%. So let's sell that excess water to another city. Now normally I couldn't build roads or run pipes and things across land that I don't own, but with Anarchy I can. And this is going to be the saving grace here. Kinda. I'm going to connect this road here to the highway going out of the city. Then I'm going to run a pipeline across the map from there to an outside city connection. This will net us about $1,500 to $2,000 extra dollars a month. Not a lot, but it's something. And right now, every penny is helping. Another thing I want to do here is I want to go back into our budget where we have our water set to 80%. Since we are selling the water now, let's go ahead and turn this up to 100, and that way we're going to have more water to sell to our sister city. Parking. Did you know you can increase the parking fees in our lots? Now, I never really touched this because it was fine and I never had a problem with it, but I am trying to make up for a loss of tax dollars here, so I'm going to take a look at our parking garages around the downtown riverfront and increase these a little bit from $10 to $12 here in the big stacked parking garages, and down here by Polaris Suites, since that's the rich neighborhood, they can afford to pay a little more to park their Bentleys and Aston Martins in an underground garage. I'm going to put those to $13. Then I can go over here to our city management window and policies, and we can up the base price of taxis. With as many taxis I actually see all over town, this should be a nice little bump, though probably not. Oh well, doing it anyway. So something else I want to do that seems to help in every single testing that I did was adding in some specialized industry. Now, what we really need is ore so that we can mine coal, which that way we don't have to export so much to run our coal power facility. However, all of the best resources for this are in tiles that we don't own and are too far away from the city. We definitely don't have the cash for buying those lots right now. Same thing for forestry. There's just nowhere I want to build that at right now. But the one specialized industry that we can work with, as it doesn't require anything and can be placed anywhere, is livestock. I didn't really want to do specialized industry just yet, but tough times call for desperate decisions. So I'm going to place a livestock farm here out on the outskirts of our city. I don't know if this will help bring money in, but I know it does create jobs out here, so there's that. Okay, now I've got all of these garbage symbols over so many buildings because garbage seems to be piling up here. Let's see if we can't fix that with a much larger landfill. Now, of course, this is only going to be a temporary fix because our city produces so much trash that enlarging it even this much, over 1,000 tons, isn't going to last us very long at all. So what we're really going to need, as fast as we can get it, is some sort of recycling center. When I last looked into these though, they were so expensive that it's going to be a little bit before we even get the money for that. But it is definitely a priority. One thing I've noticed during my multiple testing here of the landfill, and I think I'm correct on this, is the landfill will only send out enough trucks to fill up the landfill, and each truck carries 20 tons. So if your landfill is 800 tons and you're already at 700 tons, that's only enough space for 100 tons more to go into the landfill, or about 5 trucks. So instead of sending out all the trucks, they only send out 5. I find this interesting actually, as it's such deeper simulation, and it just shows how many things this game is calculating at all times. But anyway, this does not seem to fix the problems on some of my buildings. In every simulation I ran where I worked on trying to fix my garbage situation, it never once fixed these buildings down here along the river. No matter how much landfill I created or the effectiveness of my landfill, these were always present here above these buildings. So what to do, what to do. I'm actually going to cheat a little bit here, and I'm going to bulldoze these buildings, and then I'm going to place them back. This gets rid of the garbage issue here for now. Also, these medium density buildings here next to those, same issue. Garbage does not get picked up here for any reason whatsoever. Maybe it's the distance from the landfill, but I have watched my trucks come down here and not really pick up enough trash or something. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe they're getting too full by the time they get to these buildings. I don't understand it, but it's just not working. So these medium density buildings are also going to go. This also might have a side effect that will lead some of the residents that are living in these buildings move to one of the unoccupied houses in suburbia. While I'm at it, I'm also going to go ahead and just rezone these spots as the European medium density, because I think those buildings look a little better here by the waterfront. Solving the garbage issues once and for all right here in this area also, I think, affects the happiness quite a bit of our citizens. One of the things that hurts happiness of your citizens is pollution, whether it's air, ground, even noise pollution. In this case, large piles of garbage everywhere also would make for a very depressing sight, kind of like a disaster zone. So that's taken care of. What's next on our list of demands? Unoccupied buildings. This one hurts the most, and I really didn't want to do it, but I started deleting random empty houses in our suburban sprawl that I just built. I didn't want to do all of them, so I just kind of randomly chose some that were the furthest away from the city, since it seemed that people were moving into the ones that were closer to town. This is most likely due to lack of services, too far from jobs, and probably nowhere to shop. Alright, that was a huge laundry list of things to do, but it works. Speeding up the time a little bit, and instead of losing population, we start gaining them. In some of my test runs, I saw an uplift of over 250 people an hour, and with more citizens comes more taxes. And that 9% that we changed earlier doesn't seem so bad now. A little from a lot is better than a lot from a little. And now our city is finally back on track. We can start to try to fix some other major issues and grow the city and make it look good as we do that. Now, it will take a little time to build up a cash reserve to work with, and we're also getting very close to the next milestone at level 8. But that's all I have time for in this video. I just wanted to come in and show how I analyzed the problems of my declining population and how I solved the problem and fixed it. Hopefully, there's someone else out there who's struggling with their city, and maybe this little guide to what I did will help you. That's going to do it for this episode. I would really love to get my viewers' feedback though on how our city is progressing, as well as the format of the video, whether you liked it, what you didn't like, etc. So be sure to let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give me a thumbs up and leave a comment, even if it's just an emoji. Every single interaction helps grow the channel and puts the video out there for more people to see. And if you're just now finding the channel and you want to keep up on where we go from here, make sure to subscribe. I'm having a ton of fun right now and enjoying Cities Skylines 2, even with all of its flaws. So there's going to be a lot more videos of the game coming up. That's all I have to say though, so wherever you guys are in the world, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, and I'll see you next time.